Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you've probably either seen the video or heard me reference the idea of continuously interviewing. It's very, very good for a lot of number of reasons to continuously interview with other companies, even if you have a job, right? It gives you negotiating power so that you can go back to your current employer and, use that as leverage for a raise or benefits or whatever it is that you want to get from your current position. Additionally, it lets you know what you're worth according to the market. It's not some abstract idea. It's not just what your employer is telling you that you're worth. It's what the market is telling you, right? So you get to actually go and test that market. So that's a really good thing. It also tells you what skills are valuable, right? So if in your particular area, for whatever reason, people are actively looking for, PowerShell, right? So they really want people who know PowerShell, even on their Linux admin side. Well, that's very useful to know. And if you're sort of thinking about what skills you could bone up on, well, maybe you go pick PowerShell as opposed to Python, right? Or whatever it is, right? And this is just a, pulling it out of the air kind of example. And one of the things that you certainly want to go do if you're going to implement this, if you're going to go and be doing, continuous interviewing, a couple times a year, testing the market, doing that kind of thing, is you want to approach it in a manner of legitimately looking for a job. You don't want to go into this purely as an exercise. You want to, be honest about things. You don't want to waste people's time. You want to go into this looking at if things line up. Let me see if this is something that I can figure out a job, and or at least strongly, or at least take it seriously, right? So that if somebody makes you an offer, you can then go back to your current employer and have them match that or whatever it is. So take it seriously. That's the main thing. And part of the process that you want to be doing to take this seriously is negotiate compensation. And this is true if this is, a legitimate job search because you don't have a job or whatever it is. You want to be negotiating compensation as part of that. And, this is something that may actually happen during the interview process. It may happen after the interview process once you actually have an offer on the table. But it's good to sort of think about this stuff ahead of time and just have an idea of, what's your game plan for this, right? So one of the first things that you're probably going to go ahead and see if and when you are going to be negotiating your compensation. And let me go ahead and move this over a little bit so that we have some. There we go. That's probably better. So assuming that we want to go ahead and sort of negotiate for your job, which you obviously do in terms of compensation, one of the questions that you're going to get probably fairly early on is, what kind of compensation are you looking for? And this is probably going to come up fairly early, right? So you've maybe did telephone screenings, maybe you did 1 or 2 interviews, and at that point you're going to talk to somebody and they're going to ask you, so, what kind of compensation are you looking for? I mean, we don't need to have a specific number, but if you want to just give us a range, right? Something like that. Right. So you're very oftentimes hear the range kind of thing. And it's kind of a trap, right? Because let's say, for example, what you're really looking for is 140K, right? That's what you want a year, right? And you're currently making a little bit less than that. And you get sort of a range and you don't want to seem greedy. So what you do is you say, well, I mean, somewhere in between 120 and 160, right? That's what you say. So what you've just told them is that they can hire you for 120, and that's not going to make very much sense to go above that. Likewise, if you see a job posting and the job posting, advertises salary of, 120 to 160, why would you take the job for less than you know that they're willing to pay somebody else? If you're doing the same work, you should be getting compensated equally. But the point of this is, don't do this at all, right? So when they say, how much are you looking for? What kind of compensation are you looking for? There's a very good and a very legitimate answer, which is, I don't know. Because you don't. Let's say, for example, that you've got two jobs, right? They both are going to pay you 140. You've got two offers on the table. Both are going to give you 140. Right? This one is an extra 30 minutes commute, right? So one of the things you want to go ahead and do is you want to make sure that you look at what is your hourly rate. So I've talked about that in a previous video. So don't just take this as a flat number. How many hours are you actually putting in at the office? How much is the total amount of time that you are not able to do other things, right? So if you're commuting, that's time you can't be hanging out with your kids or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or playing video games or whatever it is. Like you can't do stuff in that time. So if you have a long commute, that's something to consider, right? Let's say, for example, you're going to be joining a 4-person team, right? So if you're in a 4-person team, that generally means that 25% of your time is on call. So now you don't have evenings, right? And a lot of folks, especially on the management side, don't really take this into, I think, appropriate consideration. For me, if I'm on call, that means I'm not doing a lot of other things, right? So I'm not a big drinker, but I like to have the option. Right? If I wanted to go to a bar and grab a drink, that'd be nice to do. If I'm on call, I can't do that. I might want to go see a movie. Well, if I have to go turn my phone off in the movie theater, I'm not able to be on call, so I can't see movies. So what that means is that 25% of time on call is a lot. So, if you're on a 16-person team, right, you're going to have 1/16 of your time as opposed to 1/4 of your time on call. That's a significant difference, right? So on call, right? Do you get comp time? So if you're on that, 4-person team and you have a lot of on call, but your company has a policy that says if you are woken up in the middle of the night, you get the next day off, which is a policy that some companies have. Well, now you get to sort of look at that very different in terms of your comp time, right? Intellectual property, right? Can you do things that are related to your field outside of work? Let's say, for example, you have a really cool idea for a phone application. Can you develop that? Do you still own the rights, or does your company own the rights because of the way that the contract is written? Something you want to go find out if you're interested in, having side hustles, right? Are you allowed to have side hustles? Can you do consulting on the side, or is that prohibited, right? Does that extend to other things outside of technology? For example, I've got this YouTube channel. If I were talking to a company about a position, I would want to know, am I allowed to do this YouTube channel? Does the company own the rights to that now? Can I get additional compensation, outside of work for that? These are things you want to look at. How about open source? Can you contribute to open source projects? when I was at Microsoft, you had to go through a very specific process to get approved for open source work. So if you wanted to go contribute to, Apache because you found a bug or something like that, you needed to go talk to a whole bunch of lawyers. And there's a very good chance that the answer would be no, you can't. So that's a thing, right? How about corporate culture? Right? One of the people like that you'd be working with, have you met them? Well, they could all be dicks. And if they are, I'd probably want more money to have to be around dicks all the time. I mean, I probably wouldn't take the job if I thought they were, but, I might be able to be convinced if people, kept driving dump trucks full of cash to my house. But, that's something to think about. How about vacation? Do you get 2 weeks a month? Or, sorry, 2 weeks a year? I get 2 weeks a month. It's pretty unusual. But do you get 2 weeks a year? Do you get 3 weeks a year? Do you get 4 weeks a year? That's a really big difference. We're talking small numbers, but if you get 4 weeks a year, that means you can go take a week off every quarter. That's probably going to be a lot better for your mental health. You can de-stress. You have options to go on longer vacations, go different places, things like that. How about working from home? I think you're getting the point here, right? The idea is that there's a lot of stuff that goes into this that makes a salary only part of your compensation. Training, right? Can you get your company to commit to training, giving you a few weeks, a month of training kind of stuff? So, if you've got one job where you're making 140 and you're getting all these kind of other things and you're getting, really good health care and all this other stuff, and you get this other one that's 140 and, you're getting, very different amount of time on call and you're getting very different vacation, all this kind of stuff. You don't know what it would take, right? So let's say this job is significantly better in terms of its benefits. In order to go take this job, you might want 160. So it's not a flat thing. So if you're talking to a potential employer and they say, how much do you want? Unless you're fairly far into this process, I don't think you can really say. I don't think it does you any good to say. So I think the more appropriate thing to do is to put them off for as long as you can. Say, I think I'm going to need to get to know the people that I'll be working with, get an idea about some of the side benefits, and once we sort of think that this is a good fit, I think then we can sort of look at what the total compensation package looks like, as opposed to just the salary. And you'll do a lot better in terms of what you end up walking away with, and you'll be a lot happier if you do take a job, because it'll be from an informed position, right? So it's not only getting the maximum amount of money that you can walk away from, it's also about getting the compensation that you are comfortable with, and that makes sense for your particular situation. So that's the idea. Thank you for watching. I hope this was a useful video. We are getting really close to the end of the month. So just as a heads up, I'm running that 200 subscriber contest until the end of the month. So if you go look down at the other videos on my channel, there is another one that talks about how to participate in that. It's very simple to go do. Basically, all you do is you pick one of the videos that you're interested in on the channel, or the channel itself, and you just link to it from somewhere else on social media. And then you go, submit the URL where you submitted it, so I can, have an idea that you did it. So if you're interested in that, feel free. It's a little Raspberry Pi giveaway, Raspberry Zero, tiny little thing, kind of neat for projects and stuff. So feel free to check that out. If you're new to the channel and you found this to be useful or interesting, I talk about a lot of IT career stuff, talking about technology, and general sort of thoughts on the IT industry and career. And feel feel free to like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.